It's timely that on the eve of a state election in Victoria we're having a discussion about the need for strong environmental policies to address climate change and to protect our precious biodiversity. We've got a situation where in Victoria neither the Victorian Labor Party or the Coalition are prepared to commit to strong action to tackle climate change or to grasp the opportunity to save the remaining habitat of the leadbeater's possum through the creation of the Great Forest National Park, for example. And so in that context we're reliant on our federal government for leadership. But instead of demonstrating leadership, what we've seen is a federal government that has a vendetta to decimate the renewable energy industry. And Tony Abbott has been on a personal crusade trying to destroy renewables and to prop up coal. And as a result, a number of Victorian renewable energy projects are under threat. The Mildura solar farm has been shelved. That would have been a great boon for the city of Mildura. We've seen dozens of new wind projects being put on hold. We've seen the manufacturer Keppel Prince in Portland recently announced that it would have to shed 150 jobs as a consequence of the renewable energy laws in this country going backwards. And I visited Keppel Prince only a few weeks ago. What an inspiration. Here we have is an entrepreneur recognising the opportunity to create the towers that support wind turbines. We've got people who were previously stacking shelves at Woolies and Coles, now being trained in welding techniques and, in fact, becoming experts in their field, becoming very highly specialised and highly trained. Victoria's moved from being one of the leaders in the country to a laggard on renewable energy. According to the Climate Council report, the government's anti-wind farm agenda has cost Victoria an estimated $4 billion in lost investment, as well as 3,000 jobs. $4 billion and 3,000 jobs. We've seen new renewable projects basically seize up. The pipeline is now dry because of the uncertainty over the future of the RET. And investment in the sector has plummeted by around 70% over the past year. We've got a solution, and I know my colleagues in the Victorian State Parliament, as well as the Green candidates right across the state of Victoria, are advocating forcefully for that solution. We can salvage the clean energy industry in Australia. We can make progress in tackling climate change. And how do we do it? We do it by phasing out dirty coal-fired power stations. We do it by banning onshore fracking and gas drilling. We do it by reinstating the renewable energy target in Victoria. And we do it by paying solar panel owners a fair share for generating clean power. That's how we do it. But to do it, we've got to move beyond this obsession that this government has with fossil fuels. And it was only today that Todd Stern, Obama's climate change advisor, who said it's just obvious that fossil fuels have to stay in the ground. If we're to combat climate change, that's where fossil fuels belong. Now, if Victoria were a country, we would be the world's 5th biggest producer of brown coal. The average age of Victoria's power plants is a staggering 40 years old. That's the average age. We've got plants that are older than that. In Victoria, we produce the dirtiest energy in Australia, and we produce more of it than we can use. But it's not just coal that's the problem. In Gippsland and parts of the Otways in south-west Victoria, we have seen an explosion in the number of exploration and development licences for onshore gas. In Gippsland, there are 22 exploration licences for unconventional gas. Lakes Oil, who's a company now known as Ignite Energy, has conducted 23 fracking operations between them in Gippsland before the 2012 moratorium. In the southwest of Victoria, we've got 10 exploration licences for gas, mostly tight gas and shale gas. And I have to declare an interest here, and some of them are not far away from where I live. In Bacchus Marsh, we see a community threatened by a huge open-cut brown coal mine. High-impact explorations now included a number of test drills right next to people's homes. And for those people who aren't familiar with these areas, these are the breadbasket of Victoria. They're highly productive, fertile communities, places like Gippsland, Yachtways and Bacchus Marsh, that produce some of the best food anywhere in the country, and they're now under threat from coal, from unconventional gas, including from fracking. And at risk, we've got one of the most precious resources of all, and that is water, which stands to be poisoned by coal mining, by drilling and by fracking. So what do we need to do about it? Well, the first thing is we need a ban on new coal mines. We've just got to stop this idea, this last century fixation with digging big holes in the ground as the solution to our problems. We've got to stop this fixation with onshore gas, and particularly with fracking, so that we can make the transition towards a clean energy future. And what the Greens are advocating for is that we implement a Victorian, a state-based renewable energy target, which will bring renewable sources of power online. Importantly, if we do that, we can phase out these dirty brown coal-fired power stations. Hazelwood, Anglesey and one of your Lawns 4 units are to be phased out in 2015 under the Greens policy. We'd retire Loy Yang B and the other 3 units in 2023. Now, Anglesey coal-fired power station, again, just on my back doorstep, situated in some of the most important heathland anywhere in the world. And the opportunity to turn that back to what is one of the most important biodiversity resources in the state just can't be missed. What would it result in? Well, 21 million tonnes of carbon dioxide from Victoria each year from 2023 would be gone. We'd reduce the pollution intensity of Victoria's power system by almost a third. A third of the pollution coming from Victoria's brown coal-fired power resources gone. Under the plan, we'd see decommissioned power plants and mines replaced by solar farms and a range of other renewable energy projects. It would create hundreds of jobs. There's also huge potential in the rehabilitation of these mine sites. Huge jobs, lasting for decades. This economic transformation, it's jobs rich, it's good for the economy, and it can occur without 1 cent of taxpayer funding going to the coal generators. Over recent years, we've seen the Napthine and Baillieu governments hand out $1.8 billion in public money to our brown coal power stations. They don't need another cent. We're going to get more people employed in putting solar panels than in the entire coal mining industry. In fact, that's the situation at the moment. Clean energy is just not a threat to employment. It's an opportunity. It's a jobs-rich industry. And it's ordinary tradespeople who are employed in the installation of solar panels on people's roofs from places like Western Victoria right across to the Latrobe Valley. We've got 1 million Australian homes and businesses already generating clean power, but they're not being given a fair go by the power companies. So what else do we need to do? Well, we need to make rooftop solar much simpler and more affordable for everyone. We've got to allow people to install panels at no upfront cost. Let's get rid of the administrative and regulatory barriers that we put in front of people. This is genuine red tape reduction. If the government was serious about reducing red tape, this is exactly where it would start. And we'd make sure they were being paid a fair share for generating clean power for their electricity bills. That's why the Greens are proposing introducing a minimum one-for-one feed-in tariff. So the owner's at least going to be paid the same amount for the electricity they put into the grid as what it costs them to get out of it. It's common sense. This will boost the economy for many solar panel owners and will protect the over 50% of solar homes who will be otherwise left with no guaranteed price of solar when existing schemes close in 2016. And of course nothing will change for those few households who are paid already above this minimum one-for-one feed-in tariff. This is a good story. It's a good story. Cutting pollution means cleaner air, it means cleaner water. It means better health. It means more jobs. It means tackling climate change. It means exporting our brains rather than the dig it up and ship it out mentality which belongs in the last century. We've got an election in a few days' time. This is firmly on the national agenda.